My name is Marilyn White Corwin. I was born in Greenport in 1951. My parents are Bob and Lillian White. My grandfather had oyster shops in Greenport down on Ludlam. We actually lived on the corner of Ludlam and Carpenter Street up until I was 5 years old, my two brothers and myself. Went to Greenport School. First I went to St. Agnes School in Greenport, and then I went to Greenport High School. And after school, then I married another native, a Corwin from Greenport, Everett Corwin. And we've been married for 43 years. We have twin sons, both who now live in Greenport, Robert and Everett. And I have 3 grandchildren who also live in Greenport. So we're actually 4 generations here in Greenport. It was always nice growing up here on the water. My grandmother lived on the water, so we spent most of our days in the water in the summer. And it was a really great way to grow up as children. And you know, you learned all about just respect for the water. We'd go out, and if you kind of were hungry, you could grab some scallops or open them up on a rock, eat them raw. I mean, it was just a lot of fun. It's still a beautiful place. It's different. Back when I was a child of the 50s, it was more of a working village. I mean, the docks were just filled with fishing boats, and you know, the lobster boats would come in. We had bunker boats that used to come in down the foot of Main Street, and because my father had the store down on Main Street, so you know, every Sunday night we used to go down and watch the bunker boats go out. And that was always like a big thing, watching the boats go. You know, I know a lot about the shipyard. I mean, people don't realize, you know, the boats that are shipyard. The shipyard is amazing. I mean, during World War I, the shipyard was making boats for the Russians, and during World War II, it was a never-ending stream, you know, of landing crafts and rescue boats for the Navy, and all these things came out of little old Greenport. It was very secretive. The guys, there was lots and lots of jobs for the men in the shipyard. They actually built housing just on the outskirts of the village. We used to call it Cardboard City, and that's where many of the men who worked in the shipyard lived there, and probably most of the original families in Greenport at one time or another lived in Cardboard City. It's now called Driftwood Cove. They did change things around a little bit, not a whole lot, but a little bit, and so it's, you know, it's still there. So for temporary housing, it stayed up quite a long time. Oh, my father is a wealth of information, along with pictures, and my father is, he's 80, he'll be 88. He remembers everything. He's got an extraordinary memory, along with my mom. She's 87, and she's the same way. She remembers everything, thank God, so we are able to get that history from them.
I'm Bob White. I live in Greenport, New York. Born 88 years ago, and still here. 321 South Street, just around we're on 5th Avenue now, so it's 2 blocks over. Born in the house, yeah. No hospital. We had a hospital here, but my mother chose to have me in home. Yeah, at that time, the school was right across the street from the house I was born in on South Street. So the first, let me see, I went to kindergarten there and first and second grade. So I just had to walk across the street to go to school. And of course, they moved up west of the village, they had a brand new school built for, at that time, there was over 1,000 pupils. And they moved here in 1909. My father came here for the oyster business, and he was in it ever since. He ran 2 oyster businesses and a hardware store, all within a period of years. And I worked in the hardware store, but I was too young to work in the oyster business. I went into service when I was 18, and when I came back, I was 20, a little over 20, and there were no jobs around. At the end of World War II, there were more men coming home from the service, and then there were jobs. So I went to work in a hardware store temporarily, and ended up being there for 46 years. The hardware, it was an old-fashioned type hardware store. We only sold items that people needed. Pretty much everything that the everyday needs of the man working on the water. We got a lot of marine supplies. It worked out very well. And of course, after I sold the business, it changed over into more of a what I call up-to-date hardware store, which had most everything but hardware in it. But so that's the way it goes. Life changes, and you have to change with it. And then every summer we had a fleet of boats from Virginia and North Carolina that came in to work on the offshore scallops, and they used Greenport as their home base. They unloaded here and got the fuel here, and groceries, and helped the whole community. And then that's gone now because fishing is bad everywhere in the country. It's not as good as it used to be. The price is high, but the quantity is not there. The sea scalloping is coming back, thank goodness. I made a lot of employment for people. And depression days when we started out, but we made out. We had a lot of seafood to eat, and my wife's family owned a grocery store, so they had groceries to eat off of. But no, there's a lot of farm. This was all farm country. And you could dig a mess of potatoes or onions or beans or strawberries or cauliflower. A lot of cauliflower raised out here. But those that wanted to work a little bit would make enough money, or a lot of bartering going on, and they weren't starving. But those lazy ones that didn't want to do anything, they might have been starving. But Lord help them. I was in the fire department. I've been, 60, 70. I'm still a member, but of course I'm inactive now. But I was chief for 3 years, and held all the offices. And back in the 50s, that was. And now I'm resting on my laurels.
Well, when you get to it, you ask me. I got a few things. Okay.
You're getting impatient, huh?
Well, no, I was just could add some things. That's all. Okay. I'm Lillian White, and Lillian Santa-Croce White, and I was born in Greenport. My parents were born in Greenport before me. My grandparents came over from Italy in the late 1900s. And so we had an Italian section of Greenport where most all the Italians gathered after they came to work in the brickyard. And then when they got enough money, they saved their money of something which I'm very proud of. All the Italians that worked there saved their money and bought their own homes. They never rented from anybody. They all came and moved into Greenport. The brickyard in here brought a lot of the Italians. In fact, that's what they came for, to work there. Because in their little town, Pauperley is the name of their town, there wasn't very much work. It was mostly farms, and one word led to another, and then Greenport is a wonderful, wonderful place to grow up in. I belonged to a lot of organizations. I was president of the library, ladies auxiliary of the library. I was president of the tree committee. I got that organized, and because I was responsible for getting Greenport named Tree City, of which I'm very proud. And I was the American Legion. I was president of the Ladies Auxiliary of the American Legion. So I've been in a lot of. I was very active all throughout my married life and bringing up my 3 children. I worked part-time in the hospital. I went to school here, went to the old school, then I went to this new school. Then I met Bob when we were in high school. We were, as they say now, high school sweethearts. And so we've been married for 67 years. Now, I got married from that building. You see a brick building on 5th Street. We lived upstairs there. I got married over in the church. Walked down the stairs and met up with him in church and got married at St. Agnes Church. 67 years ago, my goodness sakes.